Cool, I'll hand over to Aarti, who's going to talk about Deloitte's cloud transformation work. Thank you.
Should I have both?
If, you can have, if you're all right holding both, then that would be ideal. Yeah.
We should have done this before, right?
Well, we're rehearsed, aren't we? It's all right, we've only done 50 of these events.
Cool.
Right, thanks, Aarti.
Thank you. So after all that talks about what went well in the first few events and what didn't, I couldn't sort of come up to the stage without any sort of fear. I was quite calm till I came up on stage, but after seeing too long, too short, too many storytelling, too many sales, I started introspecting what my speech really has. And am I doing any of it? Should I do any of it? Should I change my speech? Should I continue what I started with? But then I said, I'm here to talk about what I do on a day-to-day basis. So hopefully it's insightful and it's something that you all are living through on a daily basis. Deloitte, as Michelle was mentioning earlier, is known for tax and audit. So most of the times when I turn up, they're like, are you here to talk about technology? And I'm like, yes. And then I explain that I work within cloud engineering. And then people go on to ask me some of these questions. So operations won't be needed anymore, right? We have DevOps now. So that's often something that they start off with. Then they ask me, DevOps is a one-time investment. So I've bought all these tools, so I'm done with DevOps, aren't I? The next question is, it's just a methodology, right? And once we've passed that question, is it the same as Agile? We've just been through an Agile transformation, so clearly we should be doing DevOps as well. And then that's often followed by, DevOps is just for startups. Oh, I have to say this because I work with lots of financial services organizations. And more often than not, they think they know everything. So they come to me and say, it's just for startups. It's not for highly regulated industries like ours. And then the final thing is, we can just buy DevOps. There's a lot of contractors out there. There's a lot of contractors out here. And if we can just get a few of them, and we're done with it. So these are the things that I start off with when I go into a client. And the advantages that I get to change those perceptions. The disadvantage is that when those perceptions have changed, I have to leave them. When my job becomes easier, I have to leave them. So that's often where I start my work with my clients, and this is true of most of our cloud engineering practitioners. We say we're cloud engineering, but what we do is a lot of DevOps, and the two go hand in hand, and a lot of the DevOps work that we're doing is in the cloud today, so that's why we've branded ourselves cloud engineering. The next thing I started thinking about is, am I going to speak for the whole 30 minutes? When Jack called me yesterday and said, how long is your speech? I said 15. I speak quite quickly, as you can see, so hopefully I will be done in 15 minutes and no one's going to fall asleep. I know the heating in the room's quite high. So the next thing that starts off is that just give us a few weeks of training, just teach us Jenkins, and we're sorted. So this is where I start off with, yes, we can get Jenkins set up in a week and people can start using it, but is it going to be highly available? Is it going to manage the workloads you're going to put through? How many developers are going to be using it? You're asking too many questions. So this is the sort of evolution that happens. So the first page of interactions that I was mentioning is often with some of the leadership team, both business and IT. Someone's heard the DevOps buzzword and they bring us in. A lot of this is usually with the project manager or program manager who's tasked with getting the DevOps tick box done. And they ask me, as a startup, we're going to behave like a startup. Most of the clients I work with are not a startup. We're going to behave like a startup, so we need 1,000 releases today. Are you making 1,000 changes a day, is the question I ask. And the answer is often no, but we need to be able to do that. Okay, let's have that conversation when you're ready for it, is often the sort of level setting I'll have to do after that. We need all of the cutting edge tools. So I like the first slide you guys had, where you had all of these tools, and the question was, how many of you know all of them? And it's almost like an interview or a test. Every time I go to a client, they're asking me, have you heard of Spinnaker? Have you used CloudBees? Have you set up Ansible and every other tool set? And I'm like, I've set up 3 or 4 of them. My team has set up 5 or 6 of them. Collectively, we know about 15 of them, but you don't need all 15, is the conversation we end up having with them. The next thing is to unlock value quicker. Can we just cut down on some of this testing? And that's when I have the conversation around, it's not about cutting down on testing. It's about making the testing itself automated. So you're cutting down on the time that testing takes. So the conversation you're having with me is that not that you don't want testing, but that you don't want testing to take as long as it takes. So this is the sort of bane of my life right now. DevOps is embedded in the dev team, so why do dev teams need to manage their own CI/CD pipelines? There's a DevOps guy in the team or a girl in the team. Couldn't they just manage it for them? It's not about DevOps doing your work for you. It is about DevOps enabling developers to be effective, and that's the thing that a lot of people tend to miss. Security will sign off everything at the end. Rest assured, is the thing that gets told to me all the time. These days, I've been doing this for 15 years. I've been delivering technology for about 15 years. The first few years, I did what I was told. First few years, I say, that's about 2 years. After that, I pretty much started telling everyone how I want it done. So security does not sign off in the end on my projects anymore. So those were some of the sort of contexts and perspectives we try and change as part of the DevOps work that we do with our clients. I'm not sure how this works. Should I pause for questions in the end, or do people have questions in terms of some of what I've... Sorry? Okay, cool. There's a suggestion in the front, so I'm going to wait for the end. But the topic that I really wanted to talk about a little bit today is around some of the lessons I've learned. So we started the sort of whole conversation with what do clients ask us? Different layers of the client base that we interact with, basically the leadership teams and the people trying to get DevOps culture in their organization. But things that we as a team have matured over time and have learned to do better is what I want to talk about. We didn't always get it right when we started it, and we're doing it better and better as we've done more and more projects. The advantage is when you work for a consulting firm, you tend to work with a lot of organizations. If you've done a mistake once and you've gone to the next place, you learn not to repeat it, and you're not stuck in the same place for a long time, so that's always an advantage. So we've spent a lot of time perfecting how we build an environment. It's about automating the build of the environment itself, having security as part of the initial build. I'm going to talk about each of these topics, but I'll just quickly call out a few of these. Secrets management. This is something that is so obvious, but doesn't always happen. Managing network and ensuring that you've actually segregated it, allowing for experimentation and proofs of concepts. Again, in the context of financial services where I work, they're quite hung up about it. So this is something we've learned to do better over time. Identity and access management, making it consistent across all of the environments. This is something that we've done better over time. Your arms get twisted a lot saying it's only the development environment. Can it be a little more relaxed? But you're never going to get into the habit of working with a production environment if you're going to relax it. So this is something that we've learned over time not to compromise on. So things that I'm calling out are things that we've learned to do better over time. Limiting break glass. I actually wanted to put down no break glass, but we've only been able to accomplish limiting break glass. If you've done everything you need to do as a DevOps team and you've automated everything that you need to do, you shouldn't ever need to break glass. But we all know we do every now and again. But it's about getting it to the bare minimum. And then segregation of duties. This is the thing that I struggle the most. I don't think we have done this effectively in the context of it being optimal. Especially when working with financial services organizations, I have to show it's a different person doing X and Y, which I feel is quite contrary to how I want DevOps to work. This is an internal battle I continue to fight, but we've gotten better at managing it within our teams. The next bit is around how we manage AMIs and base images. This was something that we did pretty poorly at one time, but now I'm pretty proud of how we do this. It's one for another session at some point. Maybe I can do a demo. A lot of what we build is for our clients which are under NDA. These are real NDA, not NDA waivers. I will demonstrate probably in another session when I get the chance how we end up building these and managing all of our base images. Currently, the team that I'm working with, our team of about 15 people, we manage rollout of AMIs and base images across 400 accounts and environments, and we do all of that quite easily with a lot of automation, and we're able to manage that with such a small team only because we've gotten better at it over time. Monitoring and alerting. This is something that we're still learning. We've got one too many tools that monitor stuff, and I think our problem is not that we don't monitor. Our problem is that we're not very effective at getting insightful information from it and reacting to it effectively, especially when things are moving on and we choose to change our tools every few hours in terms of things that we want to add on to our monitoring tool set. So these are some of the sort of topics I wanted to call out in terms of these are things that we are learning over time and getting better at. People wanted war stories. As I was talking to a lot of people over drinks, everyone wanted to hear things that you didn't do well before and did better rather than things that are going swimmingly well. So these are the sort of topics I wanted to call out in terms of what we got better at in terms of securing and doing DevOps better. I had a lot of slides, but I spoke about all of them. Managing teams and talent. So ultimately, as a consulting business, for us, our business is our people. And we have to have happy people who want to turn up to work and do the high-pressure jobs that we do, because our clients are not very empathetic towards our daily rates. They want us to finish the job quickly enough, and which means that our teams have to be highly motivated and working long hours, often not because the job demands it, but because we're trying to accomplish something much sooner than the job can be done in. So the way we motivate and inspire our people is what we end up sort of equipping our client teams that we leave behind to do for their own teams as well. I think the speakers before me stole my thunder a little bit in terms of it's humans at the end, and they need to feel motivated and happy about the work that they do. So in as much as we set up the tool chain, we embed the security practices, we develop the DevOps strategy, do the maturity assessment that people ask consultants to do. We also sort of work with our clients, building that sort of empathy with your team. How do you set up clear goals for engineers and DevOps team members so you get it right and have them motivated? The issue that a lot of our clients have is the DevOps talent pool wants to work with tech companies, not with business organizations that are delivering services to clients. So it's about getting them in a space where they're able to sort of motivate talent to stay with them. Having a positive work environment that's flexible, humanistic, recognition is often at the forefront of how people are rewarded. It's inclusive. We also sort of end up redesigning the workspace for our clients. I say we because it's not the cloud engineering practice that does the redesign of the space. So we have a workplace team that we bring in to help us with those elements. The difference in how we sort of embed DevOps in the culture is not just in the tool chain and the technical practices that we embed. It's also about the workspace. It's also about the culture, how people are sort of equipped and to manage their teams. And we also do a lot of leadership coaching in terms of how to enable leaders to manage teams that deliver technology. Often there's an element of trivializing the work that gets done. If everything's automated, why do you need a job? If everything's automated, why do I need a person? So it's about sort of helping those leaders understand the value of the work that gets done that we also sort of invest in. We have techniques like imagination labs, digital leadership sessions, which we help our clients sort of go through so that the teams we leave behind feel looked after and enabled to do the best work that they can on DevOps. So that's all I wanted to speak about today. Any questions? Someone there that wants to ask a question.
Hi, Aarti.
Hi.
Thank you for the session. Just want to pick your brains on you talked a good point about you guys have to do a faster pace of delivery than standard organizational delivery.
In-house teams typically, yeah.
So when you have this rich backlog, right, you have to kind of tick all the boxes of security and all. One of the challenges you have is you got to do it right and get it done. How do you manage your technical depth or architectural depth? We don't want to see band-aid fixes or anything like that, right? So you got to do it right. So how do you manage pace of delivery as well as managing architectural depth?
So I want to say I have a silver bullet, but I don't. But what we typically end up doing is communicating to the client some realistic expectations. Yes, we do push the boat, but if we haven't done it right, what is required in terms of fixing it is something we are very open with them about. It's not always something that the clients want to hear, but it's our obligation to make them aware is how we sort of leave behind that environment. It would be remiss of me to say there will be no technical debt in the work we do. There is, and we know it. And the only way we do that is leaving behind teams that know what needs to be fixed when we are gone.
Okay, thank you.
It's difficult to exercise that detached attachment. As technologists, you are quite attached to what you've done, but you get used to it over time.
Good stuff. Okay, just time for one more question. Mr. Hardy.
When you're projecting all this into a client environment, how do you get the full top management support for what is a very significant change process?
I mean, the honest answer is the daily rate they pay for us makes it a little bit easier for a simple reason that if I'm giving you, say, £3,000 a day, you better have something to tell me, so I'm going to listen to you, kind of a...
We do that.
So there's a little bit of that. The secondary element of it is, to a certain extent, when people call us, they've already made the leap of faith that they want to change. They have decided that something needs fixing, and someone in the organization is a positive enforcer, and someone in the organization is opposing them. And they often call us as the arbitrator. And we play the role of arbitration. That's what consulting is all about. You get years of coaching to do it. You end up arbitrating between leaders in terms of what the right thing to do for the organization is. Or sometimes we end up having somebody fired from their position as a consequence because you're not the right leader for the job. And as an external party that's brought in to give that piece of consulting advice, people take it on board. So it is a little bit easier than being in-house and giving that advice. That's the honest answer.
I like how you slip out. You said it on the about firing people right at the end. Brilliant. Okay, cool. Thank you very much, Aarti. Brilliant stuff.